we have two representatives from IMR, and we have Michael Holton from Kent Stainless. We'll kind of go through the panel. You might maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll get into this discussion, because we're talking about practical uses of real AI on the floor, questions around it, around how we should do it, and the real technical application of it. So, Michael, maybe we might start with you, because you're just physically nearest. Talk to me about Kent Stainless, the sort of work that you do, and the AI application that you have made, the decision to go ahead with, and what's happening. Tell us the story.
Yeah. So Kent Stainless is a company based in Wexford. It's a family-run company in business about 45 years. I'm the operations director here for the last 7 or 8 years. And I suppose we didn't set out now to go with an AI solution here. What we ended up identifying a problem in our planning and scheduling process. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to find a good solution to that. We were kind of a pretty complex scheduling kind of workflow, if you like. And we teamed up with IMR to look at that, and we used the Factory Exchange program to kind of fund some research in that, and try and come up with a good model, which we have pretty well done now. It's not quite finished yet, but it sits close. But working with Carlos here, we ended up putting a layer of AI across that whole scheduling system, where it kind of optimizes and does the work for us. Again, for me, I'm not an AI expert, but I can speak to kind of a use case and where AI kind of came into our business in a very kind of safe and very useful manner. And it has worked, it has potential. I can see that now,
Yeah. I want to dig into the detail with that in a bit, but well, let's hear from Carlos. Carlos, tell us a little bit about your work, and, and the sort of line between, LLMs and traditional AI towards, LLMs.
Okay. So I work as the head of AI in Iris Manufacturing Research. So my work is to figure out where AI is right now. Can we apply it to manufacturing? What are the good use cases? And what type of AI is good for each use case, right? And also look at things like, can we run LLMs on site, on premise? Because I believe that's the future, or part of the future of the use of LLMs in manufacturing will be running on premises. Anyway, we need to distinguish, right, between generative AI or large language models versus, let's call it, traditional AI, or mostly machine learning based, right? In manufacturing, mostly we have been using machine learning until now. Use cases like computer vision, for example, that's a pretty well-established use of AI. There are commercial companies selling you the hardware and the software for quality detection, right? You point the camera at the product, and in seconds, less than a second, you get a message. The product is okay, or there is a fail or a problem with it, right? Scheduling, obviously, it's another use. When you have a very, very complex problem, you can create a heuristic, or you can use AI to two things: improve the solution and also improve the explainability, which is a big problem sometimes of AI in manufacturing. And then we have things like predictive maintenance that gets the headlines, but in fact, it's not that easy to apply, because most of our machine or our processes, how often they fail. They don't fail that much. So an AI has a tough problem to learn what a failure is. So how it's going to predict that it's going to fail in 1 week, right? But we have also anomaly detection. Anomaly detection is when you have the AI reading in almost real time data from your process, from your machines, set parameters, temperatures, vibration, acoustics, and it's analyzing all of that and figuring out if something is wrong. And then it's flagging, hey, there is a problem here. And that is much easier for AI, because basically it learns what is normal. And then if something is not normal, it flags it. So anomaly detection is a very good use case for machine learning. And generative AI is starting to get use cases. As you said, no one in his right mind will use an LLM today to control a process. No way. We'll get to that. Not today. But it has uses. For example, the main use we find is for maintenance, to help maintenance managers, because it can access your SOPs, your machine logs, your maintenance logs, all of this. And if there is some problem in your factory, you can ask the LLM. I got error E650. What do I do? And the LLM will tell you what to do. I've seen this in production already. So there are plenty of use cases for AI, both of them.
Great. And Lisa, maybe you might tell us a bit about your work and why you're here.
Yeah, so a lot of people here know me already. I support competitive funding. I support engineers, scientists, researchers to secure large-scale funding to create those pilots, scale those pilots. And in the last year, every single proposal I've been involved with has included a piece on AI or really dominated by AI. And most recently with Carlos and a big company here in the audience, next generation agentic AI in manufacturing. So we're in that conversation with some of the best in Europe, because we know that, as we had a comment there from the audience, world models are going to be really important for manufacturing.
Yep.
And physical AI, which Carlos and the team are experimenting with.
Great. Okay. And I know you're a big fan of regulation.
Listen, I didn't want to be the one up here talking, about the rules and the fines and all this stuff, but reality check. And it's got the EU AI Act is coming into force in August, and that affects us all, including us here in Irish Manufacturing Research. If you are interacting with AI systems, and we all are, you need to come up with a little plan, just a checklist, a risk analysis, really. And some AI systems are unacceptable going forward in Europe. An example, if we look at kind of operations in a factory, emotional analysis on your workforce, unacceptable. And there are fines, your systems will be removed and you'll be on a list, a bad list. And that's not good for business. And it's really, really not great. But most of the things we do are really low risk. So it's just basically looking through your AI systems and saying, that's high risk. Here's a little plan. Everyone in the company can explain it and understands it. Because right now things are really unexplainable and we can't really trust it and there's no human oversight. All we need to do here in Europe is make sure we have that human oversight, that all of us here get it. I see AI as a general purpose technology, like electricity, the steam engine, the computer. And who today wouldn't be using those things? Like, if you're not using electricity, I think you're going to be left behind. So you want to be using AI. You want to understand it like we all understand electricity, and we want to be using it in our operations. But what we do here with our companies, it's really the beyond state of the art. We want to be using it on the shop floor, in our production. We want really cool experiments designed by Irish people, European people. But there's three things, if anyone's thinking about a pilot, an AI system on your factory floor. One, build in that EU AI Act compliance from the get-go. It's just a checklist. I think there's 4 things you can check, maybe 10 if it's high risk. And many of you make medical devices, have equipment, machinery, things like that. So some of those things are a little bit high risk. Just have a little bit of a plan and make sure your people understand that, right? Second thing I would say is there's so much free support out there. There's actually the European taxpayer and Irish taxpayer has invested in supports like factory exchange, as Michael mentioned, but there's some other really cool stuff. AI sandboxes, free to experiment and play. Have the best in the business work on your problem. So we have a huge AI innovation ecosystem. So I'll be working on them because your solution shouldn't be worked on in your factory or in your country. Your solution actually is probably out there already, and you just need to connect with the ecosystem. And the final thing then I would look at, just to make it really investor ready, is really thinking about how it's going to impact your people, really how it's going to impact your people and bringing them in. The European technology piece that we talked about, bringing in those elements, even if they're not as good right now, like not as Mistral not being as good. I think it's really important to, if you can bring it into the technology stack that you're using, that is plus. And our proposals are winning because we're doing that from the get-go.
Yeah. And we might come back to the importance of having a tool where the ability to swap in and swap out an LLM might be useful. Yeah. We kind of teed up this use case really well for Michael to kind of explore a bit because you weren't looking to use AI in your company. You were looking to find a problem. And one of the things that you said to me, which was really interesting, was that everyone had a big list of wish lists, and you had to say, we need to look at what the business need is. So talk me through that decision-making process and how you understood what you needed to be able to get a good quality AI solution at the end.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we would go out to a client and we'd say, yes, we've got your timelines now integrated into our system and this is what we can do. We might push some of these dates out or pull some in or whatever. But in reality, kind of 5-6 months down the line, when it came time to deliver that, we felt we were missing those dates, by maybe days and weeks and, in some cases months, so we needed to fix that problem. And that wasn't an easy problem to fix because you have, I kind of look at our business, we have kind of 3 streams of work. We have the work that comes in along the bus here and just flies through. We've got kind of a medium-term work that maybe takes something like 3 weeks to 10, 15 weeks to do. And then you've got these long-term big projects. And they're all coming out of the same pool. So, we had one guy, the production manager, that was there for, 25, 30 years. And, to add pressure to the problem, he was retiring kind of this year. So he was going to bring a lot of that knowledge with him. And it was a very opaque kind of system he used to do that. He'd been doing it for, over 20 years, as the business growing. But we needed to take all that tacit knowledge. We needed to get it into some sort of a system. And we needed then that system to output, number one, what can we do? And then number two, as we do is, are we on track? And are we, that milestone that's 4 months away, are we still on track hitting that in the complexity of all of the rest of the work we're doing? So look, defining the problem, the biggest challenge for us was defining that problem and saying, look, how does this need to work for us as a business? And the engineers want, they want their needs, and production had their needs, and sales had their needs, and then finance had their needs. So it's about condensing all of that in together, and then we'll look at how can we fix this. We looked at some off-the-shelf solutions. They were good, they were okay, but we felt they weren't delivering what we needed. And again, we started to engage with Carlos then, with the IMR in general, to come up with a solution. But AI kind of ended up then to be part of that solution. I think it's important that you don't go out, within the
Look
business.
for shiny new things.
Well, once we mentioned AI, and it's like everybody got very interested, all of us. So, okay, what are you doing with this? Like, this great, but it's not about that. It really is about trying to solve the problem. And if AI becomes part of that solution, yeah, so be it. But if it doesn't, so be it as well.
Yeah.
But I do think going forward, yeah, AI is going to be part of more solutions.
So, Carlos, clients like Michael coming to you with a problem, presumably that's if someone says, look, we're thinking about using AI in our business, that's the first thing you're thinking, right? Mm-hmm. What is the problem that we're solving? Is that, and how do people identify a good problem for AI versus a bad problem for AI?
Sure. That happens a lot. People coming and saying, I want to use AI. And obviously, you cannot start with the technology in any engineering problem. You start with the problem, with a challenge, right? So the way we engage with companies is first we understand what we do. We visit them. They tell us about this is what we do. These are machines, etc. And then we engage in a conversation. And the first question is, what are your challenges right now? Just think about your challenges. Not only from the management, from every team. What is your challenge this week? What was difficult for you, or time-consuming, or maintenance problems, whatever. And we organize all those challenges. And I ask them, okay, what's the impact? If we solve this problem, what would be actual impact for you?
Yes.
Do you have a clear KPI? Do you have a metric? Can you evaluate if the AI or the solution you take is good or bad? We start there. And then we come in and then we say, okay, first challenge, is AI, any kind of AI, a good fit for this use case or not? And we kind of add a technical feasibility score, right? We will, okay, this could be solved with predictive maintenance or anomaly detection or whatever. And the technical feasibility, based on the data you have, the machines, whatever, it's a whatever, like 8 out of 10. So we build this prioritization matrix where we have the impact for the company and the AI feasibility, technical feasibility. And that's what it helps them to understand how AI can help and what are the best use cases.
Okay, and then and what is once they've identified something, then they need to figure out how they're going to fund it, presumably.
Yeah.
And this is probably Lisa. If someone has a good AI problem,
yeah.
I tend when I talk to clients, I say, does it cost you what costs you the most money? What do you hate doing? What could create the most value, and what takes the most amount of time? Those to me are the ones that are on the top list of, okay, these are the ones that I want to approach with AI. But if someone has a great idea, but but the AI solution or building something sounds expensive. What should they do?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit. So we're talking about kind of two different things. So right now, Irish Manufacturing Research has thought about this, and we have some amazing supports here already where you do not have to prepare a big proposal and get it funded. There are supports through Factory Exchange, the New Datum Project. We have many programs and initiatives here. So just talk to the staff about the supports, innovation vouchers, innovation partnership program through Enterprise Ireland, for example. There's lots of things you can use that are just fill in the paperwork. Are you okay with filling in paperwork? But Factory Exchange has no paperwork, so that's kind of helpful. So we made sure that happened too. The second thing then is if you were looking for something super experimental, like it hasn't been done. Your challenge means you're going to be creating something that's beyond state of the art. You're solving your challenge, but also there's real potential there, commercial potential for you to sell that solution.
As an idea, I think that it is really attractive. In reality, are people doing that yet? Are they coming up with a solution for their own business and then spinning off a side business where they sell that software?
Oh yes, everyone's always interested in, someone else must have this problem, like, the Post-it, the paperclip, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in the last year, for example, we've supported either coordinated proposals for those companies or supported coordinators bringing in our companies for research and innovation, like super experimental stuff, to the value of about 67 million euro here in our centre. And that's like in pipeline. That's stuff I'm connected to. I'm not going to talk about all of the other things my colleagues are also connected to. So it's multi-million euro is the value of the, let's say, the grant proposals we have in pipeline. Our success rate is very good. So what I would say is 14 million euro has come in just to IMR in the last 12 months, just on 2 projects that we put together. And in those projects, we always make sure we have Irish enterprise and then working with the best scientists, not just in Ireland, and technologists and engineers, but we reach into some of the best organizations in Ireland, the UK and Europe, and we get them to work with us and support us.
It seems that AI is, because of that sort of tension across the Atlantic and with countries like China, that the European Union seems to be very keen to really support innovation, particularly in this sort of environment.
It really is, and the EU AI Act is a huge part of that. At the moment, AI and what's going on in the States, it's like the Wild Wild West. Like, I would not put any of that stuff on my factory floor.
No.
I want to understand it. I want to be able to explain it. I want my colleagues to be able to explain it to me, what's going on there. So that technology at the moment, first of all, I want it to be whatever I do, it to be investor ready. Whatever I'm doing on changing any AI systems I'm introducing. So the investors in the company, I want them to be happy. I want my customers to be happy, and I want the regulator to be happy. So the EU AI Act is a very big part of that. Making sure that you tick that box. Reaching into the ecosystem, as I mentioned, and then as well the Euro stack, the tech stack. If I can use as much European stuff, win-win-win. You'll get your funding.
That European market looks that much more attractive when you're using EU.
There's going to be a big revolt. People are going to revolt against what's going on when they realise what's being done with their information.
Michael, let's talk about then what success looks like, and also what the sort of bumps along the way.
I think the challenge was really managing our own expectations.
Right.
This silver.
I thought it was going to be her, where you could speak this stuff into existence.
This silver bullet, it's just, Carlos will do his work here now, and boom, that's it. We won't have to do anything. A little bit, but like your video,
Yeah.
But no, managing those expectations, because really it is just another tool. Okay. And again, the same rules apply. Like good data in, good data out. Bad data in, bad data out. I'll give you one just small little anecdotal thing that's happened. Like, our focus was really on on-time delivery. You probably remember this, so on-time delivery. And we put in a big job into our system. Now, we ran 2 parallel systems on the pilot. We're running our old system and we're running our test system as pilot. So we put in this fairly big job into the system. But we found it never got scheduled, okay? Because the AI came in and looked at it and said, my focus here is to deliver on time as many production orders as possible. and says, here's a great big production order here with a lot of hours on it. This is going to be very disruptive. It's going to drive. I said, I'm just not going to do that. And it's just kept pushing it out. And we
Much
thought,
like a human might.
just like our production manager would do. We thought, but it's that kind of learning and those little bits and pieces that our planners and our engineers inside and our production guys, we didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And Carlos had to bring us on a journey because you've got to be very, very careful and what you decide, what the key outputs are and the key goals are. So we have lots of little rules in there now.
Yeah.
Or Carlos has lots of little rules in there now.
Your questions to Slido, please. But Carlos, I wanted to address that disconnect, right? So you're an expert in AI, particularly AI in manufacturing. You go and you help this company set this up. How do you bridge the gap in knowledge, and is it, what does a company need to do to know that once the pilot is over, or once Carlos goes off to the next big issue, that they know enough about what's going on in the process? Or how do you manage that gap of expertise within a company?
There is still a gap. I mean, there is still some hype around AI. Kind of everyone expects, not everyone, but many people expect to be a magic wand, right?
Yeah.
I bring AI, this works, right? I mean, the hype is not as bad today as it was 2 years ago with all these headlines. Manufacturing is going to be transformed in less than 5 years. There was a lot of hype. Today, I think most manufacturers have done something, little pilots here and there with AI, and they understand it's not a magic wand. It's not that easy, right? So first is they need to understand that it's not magic. It's an engineering tool. AI is a tool, and you need to treat it as such. You need to think about starting with a challenge, the foundations of the data. Obviously, the data is always at the base of every AI project. Understand the people, who is going to use the AI, how it's going to be used, and think about all the roadmap and the life cycle of the engineering tool. It's a tool. So many people think it's easy to create, it works, it will keep working forever. No, it might. AI, several types of AI have tendency to decrease performance over time. For example, you need to keep looking at it. The data, you need to nurture your data. It's not like I have my data is working and I'm done. I have my system in place. No, you need to care for your data, nurture it at every time so AI can run correctly. Training people in AI is now a requirement from the EU AI Act. And it's so important so people understand what it does and what are the pros and cons of using AI.
Yeah.
So you need to consider all the life cycle and consider it a tool, an engineering tool.
And in terms of the gap there, do you recommend that factory owners, manufacturing plant owners, actually create positions within their staff, or provide specialist training for the more technical team to really upskill to be able to understand and manage these systems?
Yes, I think most of the pilots today, they don't have this clear life cycle and clear responsible owner for the pilot. In the worst case, is management saying, hey, you have cloth code there or something, just go use it, it's AI, and it will work out. And there's not a clear owner. And what's the metric of it? What's the value? How I evaluate if the AI is good or not? All of those things needs to be well thought from the beginning. And many pilots fail because of that. Also because they don't consider all the stakeholders. AI will have an impact on many people in the shop floor. And many times we have seen in a scheduling, for example, you create a new schedule that the AI is creating, and the managers there look at the schedule and say, why? I mean, I don't do things like this. But they need to understand why the AI is telling them to do that instead of other things. So that explainability and getting everyone on the loop of AI is so important. And it helps to scale up from pilot to production.
A question for you, Michael. You spoke very openly at a previous IMR network day about a cyber attack. Did that cause any hesitation to you rolling out AI because of increased automation typically, leads to generally increased risk?
No, probably because of our experience. We're probably more confident with AI now, and we're more confident around our own IT systems, OT systems, our security around them. Like the one thing I suppose we understood early on, while we have AI sitting within the scheduling system, it is a completely enclosed system. It doesn't go outside and look. It's just within. It's within our ERP. It's not onto our ERP system, but it's on premises.
Yeah.
It is not like there's no way into it. There's no way out of it. Carlos will give you a little bit more on the technical side of that, but we're not exposed there. So the same rules apply to our cybersecurity, I suppose, system. But no, we'd have no worries there whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we probably understand the implications of bringing in software like that a little bit better than we did 2 years ago.
We will talk more about cybersecurity in our next panel. Carlos, a question for you: where do you run IMR models used during development work for client purposes? Is it on a hyperscaler, or do you have your own data center?
Yeah, so we have our own servers here to work with, in part for data security, obviously. So sometimes we work, or many times we work with proprietary data from our companies, and that data needs to be completely secure for sure. So we always work on premise. So we have our own servers here where we develop our models, and on top of developing the models for each potential solution, we also test here ourselves different open source models, LLMs, that can run on premise. So we are constantly testing the new models, the new LLMs that can open source. So we have, as I said, our own server here. We can run pretty hefty models, and we are testing them and see what are they capable of doing. Because I think that will be part of the future of LLMs, AI in the companies will be on-premise computing. And you need to understand that LLMs, we always say Mistral is better, is worse. Well, depending for what. You don't need the best LLM for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have very small models that you can even run in your computer, in your laptop, because they are good at one thing.
Yeah.
And use that one, and maybe then you can create an agentic structure where small models talk to each other and do things. So it's not that easy to say this is the best model or not. Yeah, so that's why we like testing them ourselves.
A question for yourself and Lisanne, perhaps. What exactly is AI bringing to the factory floor beyond advanced sensoring, connectivity, automation, and digitalization? Although that is a lot. What else is AI bringing to the factory floor?
What else? Things like, for example, from the examples you gave, that possibility of creating for managers, for example, a new dashboard, as you saw before for your own finance. Maybe a manager, instead of going to the IT department, I need a dashboard to show me the increase in throughput, this, whatever. They can create that themselves.
And analysis on top of that.
And analysis on top of that.
Yeah, which can be, can actually be really useful rather than just getting the numbers using LLMs to predict stuff.
Yeah.
But again,
as long as they don't try to create a software that controls something on the production.
Yeah. And Lisanne?
I was at a talk yesterday, and there were some senior leaders up there discussing skills shortages and really difficult to recruit people and keep people and all these skill sets that they now need, and they can't compete on salary and all this kind of stuff. But with AI and agentic AI, you can literally clone yourself many tasks that your really important people are doing that they should not be doing because of the new technology. You can literally, as you say, like record everything they say and make them put everything in your own system, and they can clone themselves, and that could help, as free them up to do a little bit more, because I think we're all going to need to do a little bit more. There just aren't enough people to do all the work that we need to do, so we're all going to have to do more, and having little agents working on our behalf, I think that will really help. One of the things as well for the audience, we've talked about two things: world models and physical AI. And for many people, that's like, what is that? So a world model is basically where the technology is enabled to see the world, right? See it, sense it, understand the world. So you're here right now, you're listening, you're hearing, you're seeing, and it's helping the models to do that, your AI system to do that. And then physical AI is allowing the machine to take action, right? So push a button or move around or take action.
I mean, physical AI, usually people consider it to be robotics only. I am more of any AI that operates in the real world is physical AI, because they need to understand how the world works. I mean, you wouldn't expect an AI controlling a nuclear reactor without knowing the equations, the physical equations of nuclear chemistry. And he needs to know that. that's physical AI for me. You understand how the world works. And another thing I was thinking on Lisan is the learning and development in manufacturing. I think that is going to be huge, because imagine someone comes new to your company, he doesn't know anything. So you tell your LLM, who has access to all your SOPs, your manuals, etc., create specialized, specific training for this person.
Yeah.
He has this expertise, and create the training. And it create the questions, videos, whatever. Or the other use case would be, I have Mike here, 20 years working on the company, but maybe he needs a refresh, or maybe a new machine came in and he needs a particular training for that. I think learning and development is going to be impacted by AI so much.
Absolutely, because a lot of the time, people are trained by humans who aren't always the best trainers. They don't have the best materials, and some people learn in different ways. So multimodal learning is really useful. Are IMR doing any work with small or machine language models? Yeah.
Yes.
That's the question. Can you want to give more?
Yeah, as I said, we are trying different open source models. So as I said, the future here, I mean, we look at the future, and at some point in the future, we will have lights out manufacturing. So manufacturing plants that basically manage themselves, but that's not in tomorrow or in 5 years or in 20 years. I don't know when, but probably not in 20 years. Right now, AI is about decision augmentation, help humans do something. But now we are starting to work with agentic AI, right? Agentic AI is where you have these different AIs that can communicate between themselves, can read data from the shop floor when needed, and at some point can also take action. That's why they are agents. They have agency, right? As I said, today is still on research. That submission we just did a few months ago is because the European Union is putting a lot of millions of euros for Europe to research how this agentic AI will operate in high-stakes sectors like manufacturing in the future.
Yeah.
So this is a research theme at the moment. But that's where we are going. So we are exploring that ourselves. So as I said, we have our own server here. We download open source models and we test them from 1.5 billion parameters, which is something that you can run in your laptop, to 10 million depending. So we are testing that, how they work.
Michael, has your experience with this AI system opened your mind to perhaps further adoption, or are you still like, let's just figure this one out first?
No, we're already using AI to program robotic welding. Okay, and that has come in, but that has come in through our vendor. Okay, so you buy a machine and the vendor has that software there. So that's kind of a slightly different approach to it. Right. Again, it's very, very safe. But just coming back to something that Carla said, and I think a real tangible benefit for any of the smaller companies that are nervous, as I say, not using AI, how they can use it. I think the low-hanging fruit is really about training and induction and SOPs, where you just get a small internal model, not looking outside, you're not bringing any risk into it, and you just set it up to where you can just ask the questions and the SOPs and stuff like that. You can set that up all yourself on Copilot or Teams at the moment, and I think that's a real tangible benefit, because training.
Some of those documents are very, very long, very, very complicated, and not in natural language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people don't read them. Yeah. Heck, so your factory of the future or your factory of now and your workshop of now, like somebody just walks up to a computer, you don't even have to type it in. You ask the question, look, how do I clock in the mornings? And it'll just give you 10 bullet points. This is what you do. And it'll tell you where the clocks are, depending on what information you have in your manuals. And that is the first, if you want to get into just using AI, how to use it and get nervous, just at that low level, all your procedures, everything you've written in your procedures, just get it onto a drive, get the model looking at it, teach the model that, and then all of a sudden, all your employees did that in an easy, straightforward format,
And SLAs as well, having an agent that can read your SLA, make sure that you're delivering the things you're supposed to be delivering, checking through those things. There's great potential.
Use videos, for example, not just text. They can look at videos and get to the point where it's important for that particular error. We have a demo here, by the way, just there, where we do just that. We have access to maintenance manuals and videos, and then you can go and check what you need at this moment.
And then you just watch the video. Okay, great. We might have one more. So for Michael, how difficult was it to get the data out of the existing ecosystem for you to get the AI to work, and how long did the project take from start to finish?
Yeah, so we started the project probably November, December, kind of 2024. We went to pilot kind of last July. We're not quite finished out of pilot, but we're probably 70%, 80% kind of relying on the data now. As I said to Carlos, in 2024, our data is great. It's very clean. It's really, really good. I think by about January 2025, we had reversed that. We have a lot of work to do on our data. So data is important, and we're still struggling a little bit with it, but we're not too bad. It's pretty good. But we are actually starting to use the likes of Claude now to clean up the data a little bit and look back at the 10 years data in our ERP system, and just look, the better it is, and look, it'll never be perfect, but you just keep streamlining it, keep getting a little bit better, keep putting rules around it, and keep checking.
I had that experience with a lot of conversation. People say, our data is great, and then you look at the data and you go, I'm not so sure about it. Okay, something to talk about perhaps over coffee here, what other people have tried, what you made of that, what inspired you, what frightened you. We'll be back here in half an hour to continue with our panel discussion where we look at cybersecurity and the factory floor.